The imperial palace sat on top of 3 giant mountains. Its tall towers reached up into the purple sky like fingers trying to touch the stars. Inside those ancient walls, something terrible was happening. But it was not a war. It was not an invasion. It was 3 small creatures that nobody could control. Another handler ran out of the nursery room. His protective suit was smoking and burned. Black marks covered his chest plate. He collapsed on the floor, breathing hard. The medical team rushed forward to help him. This was the 9th handler in 3 months. Nobody could last more than a few days with the Emperor's children. Daeho watched everything from behind the thick glass window. He was one of the Emperor's advisors. He had served the imperial family for 20 years. But he had never seen a problem like this one. Through the glass he could see the 3 young dragons playing. If you could call it playing. It looked more like chaos. The biggest dragon had golden scales that changed color in the light. Sometimes they looked silver. Sometimes they looked like pure sunlight. Right now he was walking on the ceiling. He had somehow turned gravity upside down just for himself. His brothers and sister watched him and made chirping sounds. They thought it was funny. The middle child was a female. Her scales were bright blue like the ocean on Earth. She sat in the corner with pieces of a machine spread out around her. The machine was supposed to keep her locked inside a safe area. She had taken it apart in less than an hour. Now she was studying each piece carefully. Her large eyes moved back and forth as she figured out how it worked. The smallest dragon sat away from the others. His scales were black like deep space. His eyes glowed softly as he stared at nothing. But Daeho knew he was doing something. The computers in the room kept showing strange readings. The little one was reading information directly from the palace network. A 3-year-old dragon was hacking into the most secure computer system in the galaxy. Commander Byung stood next to Daeho. He had 4 arms and 3 eyes. His race was known for being tough and disciplined. But even he looked worried now. His scales were turning dark gray, which meant he was afraid. "We need to use the sleep gas," Byung said. His voice was rough like stones grinding together. "We tried that last week," Daeho reminded him. "They absorbed the gas and used it to create a small explosion. Remember? We had to rebuild the entire south wall." Byung made an angry sound deep in his throat. "Then what do you suggest?" "We have tried everything. Every expert in the galaxy has come here. Nobody can control them." Daeho kept watching the young dragons. The golden one dropped from the ceiling and landed softly on the floor. He walked over to his sister and looked at the machine parts. She showed him something. He nodded his large head. Then both of them looked at their smaller brother. The black dragon looked up from whatever he was doing. All 3 made soft sounds to each other. They were talking. Not in words that the translators could understand, but they were definitely talking. "Maybe that is the problem," Daeho said quietly. "What problem?" Byung asked. "We keep treating them like dangerous animals, like weapons that might go off at any moment. But look at them. They are talking to each other. They are playing. They are learning. They are not weapons. They are children." Byung turned all 3 of his eyes toward Daeho. "Children. Those things can destroy a building with their thoughts. They can walk through walls. They can create fire hot enough to melt steel. You call that children?" "Yes," Daeho said. "Very powerful children. Very smart children. But still children, and children need something different than what we have been giving them." The golden dragon suddenly turned and looked directly at the window. His eyes were bright and intelligent. Too intelligent for someone so young. He tilted his head to one side like he was asking a question. Then he walked closer to the glass. The blue female followed him. The black one stayed in his corner, but he was watching too. "They know we are talking about them," Daeho said. "Of course they know. They know everything that happens in this palace. That is part of the problem." "No," Daeho said. "That is not the problem. The problem is that they are bored and lonely and nobody understands them. Every handler who comes in tries to control them, to train them like pets, to force them to behave. But you cannot force someone who is that powerful and that smart. You can only guide them." Byung was quiet for a long moment. His scales slowly turned from gray to a lighter color. Finally he asked, "What do you have in mind?" "I want to try something different," Daeho said. "I want to bring in someone who is not a trainer, not a soldier, not even a dragon expert. I want someone who knows how to care for others. Someone gentle. Are you insane?" Byung almost shouted. "Those creatures will kill anyone gentle. They need strength. They need discipline. They have strength. More than anyone in this palace, what they do not have is understanding, and that is what we need to give them. Down in the nursery, the three young dragons were still watching the window. The golden one pressed his nose against the glass. He could not see through it. The glass was special. It only let people see in one direction, but somehow the dragon knew that important people were on the other side. He could feel them talking about him and his siblings. He was tired of people being afraid of him. He was tired of people running away. He was tired of people treating him like a monster. He did not want to be scary. He just wanted someone to play with. Someone to teach him things. Someone who did not run away when he got excited and accidentally made the walls shake. His sister felt the same way. She was curious about everything. She wanted to know how things worked. She wanted to build things and create things, but everyone who came into the room just wanted to keep her locked up in boxes. They did not understand that she needed to use her mind. Her brain was too big and too fast for her to just sit still and do nothing. The smallest brother felt lonely most of all. He could read and understand hundreds of languages. He could access any information in the palace computers. He knew so much about the galaxy and the empire and the millions of different species out there, but he did not have anyone to talk to about it. His handlers only shouted orders at him. They never asked him questions. They never wanted to hear what he thought about things. The three dragons made soft sounds to each other again. They were making a decision. If the next handler was like all the others, they would not cooperate. They were tired of being treated badly. They had power. They could protect themselves. And they would keep protecting themselves until someone finally understood what they really needed. In the medical wing of the palace, a human woman named Minji was finishing her work for the day. She carefully wrote down notes about each patient she had helped. She had been working at the palace for 5 years now. She liked her job. She got to help people from many different species. Some had fur, some had scales, some did not even have solid bodies, but they all needed care when they were hurt or sick. Her communicator suddenly made a beeping sound. She looked at the message. It said she was needed in the Imperial Nursery. She blinked in surprise. The nursery was restricted. Only special people were allowed in there. She had never been called there before. Minji stood up and smoothed down her uniform. She wondered what they needed a nurse for in the nursery. Maybe someone was hurt. She grabbed her medical bag and headed toward the elevators. As she walked, she thought about the stories she had heard. Everyone in the palace knew about the Emperor's children. Everyone knew they were wild and dangerous, but Minji had never actually seen them. When the elevator doors opened on the nursery level, she saw Commander Byung and Daeho waiting for her. Both of them looked serious. Byung looked worried. Daeho looked thoughtful. She bowed politely to both of them. "You called for me?" she asked. "Yes," Daeho said. "We have a situation, and we believe you might be able to help us." Minji looked past them at the large window. Through the glass she could see the nursery room, and for the first time she saw the three young dragons. Her eyes went wide. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The golden one was much bigger than she expected. The blue one was doing something with pieces of machinery. The black one was sitting very still, but his eyes were glowing. "What do you need me to do?" she asked quietly. "We need you to try something that no one else has tried," Daeho said. "We need you to treat them like they are not monsters." Minji looked at the dragons again. Then she looked back at the two officials. Her heart was beating fast. She was scared. Anyone would be scared. But she was also curious, and somewhere deep inside she felt something else. She felt sorry for them. They looked so alone in that big room. "I will try," she said. "But I need you to promise me something." "What?" Pyong asked. "Everyone needs to stop treating them like enemies. If I am going to help, everyone needs to give them a chance." "Can you do that?" Daeho smiled. "Yes, we can do that." Minji took a deep breath. She set down her medical bag. She would not need it for this. What she needed was courage and patience, and hope that she could do what no one else had done. She could show these powerful young creatures that someone finally understood them. The door to the nursery made a soft hissing sound as it opened. Minji stood at the entrance and looked inside. The room was huge. It had to be huge to hold 3 growing dragons. The walls were covered with burn marks and scratches. Pieces of broken equipment were scattered everywhere. It looked like a battlefield. Every sensor in the palace focused on her now. Scientists and security teams watched from their monitors. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Would this human woman last longer than the others, or would she run away screaming like so many before her? Minji took one step inside, then another. The door closed behind her with a heavy thud. Now she was alone with the three most dangerous young creatures in the galaxy. Her hands were shaking, but she kept them at her sides. She wore no armor. She carried no weapons. She had nothing to protect her except her own courage. The three dragons stopped what they were doing immediately. The golden one had been floating near the ceiling. He dropped down to the floor with a soft thump. The blue female looked up from her machine parts. The small black one turned his glowing eyes toward her. All three stared at this new person who had entered their space. Minji did not move closer. She stayed near the door. She knew that animals felt threatened when strangers invaded their territory too quickly. Maybe dragons felt the same way. So she just stood there and spoke in a calm voice. "Hello," she said. "My name is Minji. I am here to meet you." The golden dragon tilted his head to one side. His scales rippled with different colors, gold to silver to gold again. He took a step toward her, then another. He moved slowly like he was being careful. His large claws clicked on the metal floor. Minji knelt down. She made herself smaller, less scary. She had learned this trick when working with nervous patients. Sometimes being big made others feel afraid. Being small made them feel safer. The golden dragon came closer. He was now only a few feet away. He lowered his head and sniffed the air around her. His nostrils flared wide. Dragons could smell thousands of different things that humans could not smell. He was learning everything about her just from her scent. In the observation room, Daiho leaned forward. His hands gripped the edge of the control panel. "Is she really just kneeling there?" he whispered. "Look at the readings," a technician said with wonder in his voice. "The dragon's aggression levels are dropping. His energy output is stabilizing." "You can probably tell that I am scared," Minji said to the golden dragon. Her voice was steady even though her heart was pounding. "But I am not scared of you. I am scared that I might do something wrong. I do not want to upset you or make you feel bad." The golden dragon made a soft sound. It was not a growl or a roar. It was almost like a question. His large eyes studied her face. Eyes that held far too much intelligence for someone so young. The blue female dragon decided to investigate too. She stood up and walked over to where her brother stood. She was smaller than him, but her movements were quick and precise. She made a series of clicking sounds. The golden one clicked back. They were talking to each other in their own language. Minji stayed very still. She let them look at her, let them smell her, let them decide if she was dangerous or not. She knew that rushing this moment would ruin everything. Patience was the key. The blue dragon reached out with one clawed hand. Her movements were gentle despite the sharp points on her fingers. She touched Minji's arm very carefully. Her scales felt warm and smooth. Not rough like Minji expected. The blue dragon made a soft purring sound. The tension in the room seemed to melt away a little bit. Commander Byung exhaled slowly in the observation room. He had been holding his breath without realizing it. She made contact. Peaceful contact. "How is this possible?" "Look at all three dragons," Daiho said quietly. "Their energy signatures are changing. They are calming down. They feel safe with her." The smallest dragon still sat in his corner, but Minji noticed that he had moved slightly closer. He was watching everything with those intense glowing eyes. He was the careful one, the one who studied everything before making a decision. Minji understood that. Some people needed more time to trust. "I heard you have been giving the handlers a hard time," Minji said in a conversational tone. She spoke like she was talking to friends, not dangerous creatures. "I cannot say I blame you. They probably treated you like animals, or worse, like weapons. But you are not animals or weapons, are you? You are people. Young people who do not have anyone who understands what you need." The golden dragon sat down in front of her. He made a low rumbling sound that was almost like a cat purring. The blue dragon sat next to him. Both of them were now at eye level with Minji. They stared at her with curiosity and something else. Something that looked like hope. Minji smiled at them. It was a real smile, not a fake one. "I know what it feels like to be misunderstood," she said. "When I first came to this planet, nobody knew what to do with me. Humans were new to the Empire. People were scared of us because we were different. But someone gave me a chance. Someone was kind to me, and that changed everything." The blue dragon touched her arm again. This time she kept her clawed hand there for a moment. The gesture felt like comfort, like the dragon was trying to say she understood. In the corner, the small black dragon finally spoke. His voice was quiet but clear. "Why are you not afraid?" Minji turned to look at him. She kept her voice gentle. "I am afraid. Fear is normal. Fear tells us to be careful. But I'm more curious than afraid. I want to know who you really are. Not what people say you are, who you really are inside." The black dragon considered her words. His eyes stopped glowing so brightly. He stood up and took a few steps closer, still keeping distance but not hiding anymore. Minji spent the next hour just sitting on the floor with the three dragons. She did not try to teach them anything. She did not try to train them or command them. She just talked. She told them about Earth, about the oceans and mountains and cities. She told them about her work as a nurse, about helping people who were sick or hurt. She told them about the stars she had seen during her travels through space. The dragons listened to every word. The golden one lay down with his head on his front paws. The blue one moved closer and examined Minji's uniform with interest. She touched the fabric and made questioning sounds. "That is my work uniform," Minji explained. "All the nurses wear the same color. It helps patients know who we are. Do you like it?" The blue dragon nodded. It was a very human gesture. Someone had taught her that movement, or she had learned it from watching humans. She pointed at the pockets on the uniform. "Oh, these are pockets. We keep things in them. Like this." Minji pulled out a small light that she used to check patients' eyes. The blue dragon's eyes went wide with fascination. She reached out carefully and Minji let her hold it. The dragon turned the light over in her claws. She pressed the button and the light turned on. She made an excited chirping sound and showed it to her golden brother. He looked at it too and clicked approvingly. "You are very smart," Minji said. "You want to understand how things work. That is a good quality. That means you are an engineer at heart." The blue dragon looked up at Minji. For the first time, someone had given her curiosity a name. Someone had made it sound like a good thing instead of a problem. The small black dragon came even closer now. He sat down a few feet away from Minji, not touching but present. "You will come back tomorrow?" he asked. "Do you want me to come back?" Minji asked. All three dragons made sounds of agreement. The golden one stood up and walked to a clear area of the room. He used his claws to push some broken equipment out of the way. Then he looked at Minji and made a gesture. It was clear what he meant. He was preparing a place for her to sit when she returned. "Yes," Minji said warmly. "I will come back tomorrow. I promise. We can talk more then. Maybe you can show me the things you are building." The blue dragon carefully handed the light back to Minji. She did not want to keep it without permission. That showed respect. That showed she understood the concept of ownership and borrowing. When it was time to leave, Minji stood up slowly. She did not want to startle them with sudden movements. "Thank you for letting me visit," she said. "I enjoyed meeting all of you. Sleep well tonight." The golden dragon walked with her to the door. He made a soft sound that might have been goodbye. The blue dragon waved her clawed hand. The black dragon just nodded, but his eyes were not glowing with suspicion anymore. They looked calm. As Minji stepped out of the nursery, the door closed behind her. Commander Byung and Daeho were waiting. They both looked amazed. "How did you do that?" Byung asked. His scales had turned a bright, happy color for the first time in months. "I did not do anything special," Minji said. "I just treated them the way I would want to be treated if I was scared and lonely. With respect and kindness. Everything else happened naturally." "Will you come back tomorrow?" Daeho asked. "Of course," Minji said. "We are just getting to know each other. This is only the beginning." Minji arrived at the nursery the next morning carrying a bag. Inside were books, puzzles, and building blocks. She had spent half the night thinking about what the dragons might enjoy. They were smart. Too smart for simple toys. But maybe they would like challenges that made them think. When the door opened, she found something unexpected. The nursery was clean. All the broken equipment had been sorted into neat piles. The burn marks on the walls had been scrubbed away somehow. The floor was spotless. The three dragons had organized everything while she was gone. The golden dragon greeted her at the entrance. He made happy chirping sounds and bounced on his feet like an excited puppy. His tail swished back and forth. The blue dragon was already waiting in the center of the room where they had cleared a space yesterday. The black dragon sat nearby, closer than he had been before. "You cleaned up?" Minji said with genuine surprise. "Why did you do that?" The golden dragon walked over to the cleared space and sat down. He patted the floor with his paw. The message was obvious. They had prepared for her visit. They wanted her to feel welcome. Minji felt her throat tighten with emotion. These powerful creatures who could destroy buildings had spent their time making the room nice for her. That simple act of kindness meant everything. "Thank you," she said softly. "This is wonderful. You worked very hard." She sat down in the space they had made. The three dragons gathered around her in a semicircle. They looked at her bag with curious eyes. The blue dragon leaned forward, trying to see what was inside. "I brought some things for you," Minji said. She pulled out a book first. It had pictures of different planets and star systems. "I thought you might like to see worlds beyond this palace." The black dragon's eyes lit up. He moved closer and looked at the book with intense focus. Minji opened it and showed them the first page. It showed a planet covered in purple oceans and 3 moons. "This is Valtos 9, she explained. "The oceans are not made of water. They are made of liquid crystal. When the sun sets, the whole planet glows." The black dragon reached out carefully and touched the page. "Can we go there?" he asked. "Maybe someday," Minji said. "When you are older and have learned how to travel safely. The galaxy is big. There are millions of places to explore." The golden dragon made an excited sound. The blue dragon clicked her approval. They liked the idea of traveling and seeing new things. It gave them something to look forward to. Minji spent the next hour showing them different pictures and reading about various worlds. The dragons absorbed every detail. They asked questions that showed they understood complex ideas. The black dragon wanted to know about the different forms of government on each world. The blue dragon asked about the technology and how things were built. The golden dragon was interested in the people and how they lived together. "You each have different interests," Minji observed. "That is good. It means you can learn from each other and help each other grow." After the books, she brought out building blocks. They were large and made from a special material that could handle rough treatment. The blue dragon's eyes went wide when she saw them. She immediately reached for the blocks and started experimenting. "You can build anything you want," Minji told her. "There is no right or wrong way. Just create what makes you happy." The blue dragon worked with incredible speed and precision. Her claws moved in a blur as she stacked and arranged the blocks. Within minutes, she had created a complex structure that looked like a bridge. She tested its strength by pressing down on it. When it held firm, she made a proud chirping sound. "That is amazing," Minji said. "You understand weight distribution and balance. You are definitely an engineer." The golden dragon wanted to try too, but his creation was different. He built something that looked like a fortress with high walls and towers. When he finished, he showed it to Minji with pride. "That is a beautiful fortress," Minji said. "Are you building it to protect something?" The golden dragon nodded. He pointed at his siblings and then at Minji. The meaning was clear. He wanted to protect the people he cared about. He was a guardian by nature. "That is an important job," Minji told him. "Every family needs someone who watches over them. Someone strong and brave who keeps them safe." The golden dragon sat up straighter. He liked being told his instincts were good and valuable. The black dragon did not build with the blocks at first. He watched his siblings work. He studied their techniques. Then he carefully created something small and precise. It was a model of the palace itself, complete with tiny towers and walls. The detail was incredible for someone working with such large claws. "You remember everything you see," Minji said with wonder. "You have a perfect memory." The black dragon nodded. "I remember all the books I read. All the data I access. Sometimes it is too much information. It makes my head feel full." Minji understood immediately. That is called being overwhelmed. When your brain has too much to process at once. "Is that why you sit alone sometimes?" "Yes," the black dragon said quietly. "The quiet helps, that makes sense," Minji said. "Everyone needs quiet time. There is nothing wrong with that. You are not being unfriendly. You are just taking care of yourself." The black dragon looked relieved. Someone finally understood why he needed space sometimes. He was not weird or broken. He was just different. Over the following days, Minji came every morning. Each visit brought new activities and new lessons. But the lessons were not about controlling the dragons. They were about helping the dragons understand themselves and each other. She taught them about emotions. How everyone feels angry sometimes, and that anger is okay. What matters is what you do with that anger. She showed them how to take deep breaths when they felt frustrated. How to talk about their feelings instead of destroying things. The golden dragon learned that his protective instincts were good, but he had to let his siblings take risks sometimes. He could not keep them in a safe bubble forever. They needed to learn and grow. The blue dragon learned that not everything needed to be taken apart to be understood. Sometimes it was okay to just enjoy something without analyzing it. Though Minji admitted this was a hard lesson and would take time, the black dragon learned that being alone was fine, but isolating himself completely was not healthy. He needed connection with others even when his mind felt too full. Minji taught him to tell his siblings when he needed space instead of just hiding. The dragons also learned practical skills. They learned to control their strength so they did not accidentally break everything they touched. They practiced making their energy steady instead of wild. They worked on speaking clearly in different languages so others could understand them. But the most important thing they learned was how to express what they needed with words instead of violence. When the golden dragon felt anxious, he learned to say so. When the blue dragon wanted to study something, she asked permission first. When the black dragon needed quiet time, he told his siblings and they respected it. The change was visible to everyone in the palace. The dangerous incident stopped completely. The radiation levels in the nursery dropped to normal. The security teams no longer stayed on high alert. The scientists monitoring the dragons saw their energy patterns become organized and controlled. Commander Byung visited the observation room one afternoon and watched Minji playing a memory game with the 3 dragons. They were taking turns and laughing when someone made a mistake. They looked like normal children having fun. I would not have believed it if I had not seen it myself, Byung said to Daeho. One human woman has done what our best minds could not do. She saw what we did not see, Daeho replied. We saw problems that needed solving. She saw children who needed understanding. That perspective made all the difference. In the nursery, Minji was teaching the dragons about fairness and sharing. The blue dragon had built an amazing machine from spare parts. The golden dragon wanted to see how it worked. But instead of just taking it, he asked his sister if he could look at it. The blue dragon thought for a moment, then nodded. But be careful with it. I worked hard on this. I will be very careful, the golden dragon promised. He kept his word, handling the machine gently and returning it safely when he was done. Minji watched this interaction with a smile. A few weeks ago, the golden dragon would have just taken what he wanted. His sister would have gotten angry. They would have fought and destroyed half the room. Now they were communicating and respecting each other. You are all learning so fast, Minji told them. I'm proud of you. The 3 dragons made happy sounds. Pride was something they had never felt before. Everyone had always been disappointed in them or afraid of them. But Minji was proud. That feeling was better than anything they had ever experienced. As Minji prepared to leave that evening, the black dragon approached her. He had been practicing speaking more, pushing himself out of his comfort zone. Minji, he said carefully, why do you help us? What do you gain from this? Minji knelt down to his eye level. I help you because everyone deserves kindness. Because you are worth the effort. And because seeing you grow and learn makes me happy. Sometimes the best reward is knowing you made someone's life better. The black dragon thought about this. Then he did something he had never done before. He leaned forward and gently pressed his forehead against Minji's shoulder. It was a gesture of trust and affection. Minji felt tears in her eyes, but she blinked them away. She reached up and carefully touched the dragon's scales. 3 months had passed since Minji first entered the nursery. The transformation was remarkable. The 3 dragons had grown not just in size but in maturity. They could control their powers now. They understood how to interact with others peacefully. Most importantly, they had learned that being powerful did not mean being destructive. Word of the success spread throughout the palace and beyond. Scientists from across the galaxy sent requests to observe Minji's methods. Military leaders wanted to understand how one unarmed human had succeeded, where entire security teams had failed. But Minji kept her focus on the dragons. They were not experiments or case studies. They were her students and her friends. One morning, Daeho came to see Minji before she entered the nursery. His expression was serious but not worried. It was the look of someone delivering important news. The Emperor is coming today, he said quietly. He wants to see his children himself. Minji felt her stomach twist with nervousness. She had never met Emperor Taeyang. He was the most powerful being in the entire empire. Rulers of 1,000 worlds bowed before him. And now he was coming to observe her work. When will he arrive? She asked. Within the hour. He wants to see them interact naturally. He will watch from the observation room first. Minji nodded slowly. Should I tell the dragons? Daeho considered this. That is your decision. You know them better than anyone now. Minji thought about it. The dragons deserved to know their father was coming. Keeping secrets from them would break the trust they had built. Yes, she decided. I will tell them. They should be prepared. When she entered the nursery, the 3 dragons greeted her as always. The golden one had grown considerably. He was now the size of a small vehicle. The blue dragon's scales had become even more vibrant. The black dragon had developed silver patterns on his wings that caught the light beautifully. Good morning, Minji said, sitting in their usual spot. I have something important to tell you. All 3 dragons moved closer. They could sense when something serious was happening. Their intelligence had grown along with their bodies. They understood subtle emotional cues now. Your father, the Emperor, is coming to visit today. He wants to see how much you have learned and grown. The golden dragon's scales rippled with sudden anxiety. His tail twitched. The blue dragon made a nervous clicking sound. The black dragon's eyes began to glow brighter, a sign of stress. Minji understood their reaction. They had never really known their father. He had been too busy ruling an empire. They had been raised by handlers and machines. Now he was coming to judge them. I know you are nervous, Minji said gently. That is natural. But remember everything you have learned. Remember that you are not defined by your power. You are defined by your choices. Show him who you really are. What if we disappoint him? The black dragon asked quietly. What if we are not what he wanted? Then that is his problem, not yours, Minji said firmly. You are exactly who you should be. You are kind, intelligent, and thoughtful. Any father would be proud to have children like you. The golden dragon stood up and paced back and forth. What if we get nervous and lose control? What if we accidentally break something? Then we fix it together, Minji said. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how we respond to them. Take deep breaths. Remember your exercises. You have more control now than you did 3 months ago. The blue dragon moved closer to Minji. Will you stay with us when he comes? Of course, Minji promised. I will be right here the entire time. An hour later, Emperor Taeyang arrived at the observation room. He was enormous, standing over 4 meters tall. His crimson scales seemed to absorb the light around him. Power radiated from him like heat from a star. Everyone in the room bowed deeply when he entered. Commander Byung and Daeho briefed him on the progress. They showed him charts and data showing how the dangerous incidents had stopped, how the dragon's energy signatures had stabilized, how they had learned to communicate and cooperate. Show me, the Emperor said. His voice was deep and resonant. It carried authority that made people want to obey without question. Through the observation window, they could see Minji sitting with the 3 dragons. She was teaching them a new concept today, empathy, understanding how others feel and why they feel that way. When someone is angry, it usually means they are hurt or scared underneath. Minji explained. Anger is often a shield we use to protect ourselves from feeling vulnerable. The golden dragon listened carefully. So when the handlers were angry at us, they were actually scared? Yes, Minji said. They were scared of your power. They did not understand that you were scared too. The Emperor leaned forward, watching intently. He had never heard his children speak in such complex terms before. The reports had told him about their progress, but seeing it was different. Why does the human sit with them unarmed? He asked. Where are the restraints? The containment fields. She does not need them, Daeho explained. They would never hurt her. She has their complete trust. Impossible, the Emperor said. They are too young to have that kind of control. Watch, Daeho said simply. In the nursery, the blue dragon was showing Minji a new device she had built. It was a small power generator that ran on ambient energy from the air. The design was brilliant, something that could revolutionize energy production across the galaxy. This is incredible work, Minji said, examining the device. You created this all by yourself? The blue dragon nodded proudly. I wanted to make something useful, something that helps instead of destroys. You succeeded, Minji told her. This could help millions of people. You should be very proud. In the observation room, the Emperor's expression changed. His eyes widened slightly. That is advanced engineering. My top scientists have been trying to solve that energy problem for years. She is 5 cycles old, Daeho said quietly. and she learned it because someone encouraged her curiosity instead of punishing it. The Emperor watched his smallest son next. The black dragon was reading from a data pad, absorbing information at incredible speed. Every few seconds he would pause and think, processing what he had learned. "He is reading the complete history of the Vraxian Empire," a technician reported. "All 15,000 years of it." "He started 2 hours ago and he comprehends it?" the Emperor asked. "Better than most scholars. He has already identified 3 historical patterns that our best analysts missed." The Emperor was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I want to meet them, not through glass. I want to go inside." Commander Byung looked nervous. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should prepare them first." "No," the Emperor said. "If they are truly as stable as you claim, then surprise should not be a problem. I want to see how they react naturally." Daeho sent a quick message to Minji's communicator. "The Emperor is coming in. No time to prepare." She read the message and took a deep breath. Then she looked at the 3 dragons. "Someone very important is about to enter," she said calmly. "Remember your breathing. Remember that you are in control." The door opened. Emperor Taeyang stepped into the nursery. The room suddenly felt much smaller. His presence filled the space with raw authority and power. This was a being who commanded armies and ruled worlds. The 3 dragons froze. The golden one's scales shifted rapidly through different colors. The blue dragon's claws dug into the floor. The black dragon's eyes glowed bright with stress. But none of them panicked. None of them lashed out. They held their control. Minji stood up and bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty?" The Emperor barely glanced at her. His eyes were fixed on his children. He had not seen them in months. He had been too busy with imperial matters, too busy with wars and treaties and political games. He had left them to be raised by others. The golden dragon was the first to move. He stepped forward slowly, placing himself between the Emperor and his siblings. His protective instincts had kicked in, but he did not attack. He just positioned himself as a shield. "Father," the golden dragon said. The word was clear and respectful, but also uncertain. The Emperor's expression flickered with surprise. "You speak?" "We all speak," the blue dragon said, stepping out from behind her brother. "We have learned many things." The black dragon remained quiet, but he watched everything with those intelligent, glowing eyes. Emperor Taeyang looked at each of his children in turn. Then he looked at Minji. "You did this. You taught them." "I helped them," Minji said carefully. "But they taught themselves. I just gave them the tools and the encouragement." The Emperor turned back to his children. "Show me what you have learned." The golden dragon hesitated. Then he demonstrated his control. He generated a gravity field, but instead of using it chaotically, he shaped it into a perfect sphere that floated gently between his claws. The control required was immense. The blue dragon showed her power generator and explained how it worked. Her explanation was clear and detailed. She spoke like an experienced engineer, not a child. The black dragon finally stepped forward. He spoke about the history he had been reading. He analyzed complex political situations and explained them in ways that made sense. His intelligence was obvious in every word. When they finished, the Emperor was quiet. The silence stretched on. The dragons waited nervously for his judgment. Had they done well? Did he approve? The golden dragon's tail twitched with anxiety. Finally, Emperor Taeyang did something unexpected. He knelt down. He brought himself to their level, making himself smaller. Then he spoke, and his voice was soft. "I have failed you," he said. "I am you." Emperor Taeyang stayed in the nursery for 3 hours. He sat on the floor with his children and listened to them talk. He watched them demonstrate their abilities. He learned about their interests and their fears. For those 3 hours, he was not an emperor. He was just a father getting to know his children. The golden dragon showed him a strategy game that Minji had taught them. It involved moving pieces across a board and trying to outthink your opponent. The golden dragon was good at it. He could see many moves ahead and plan accordingly. "You think like a general," the emperor observed. "You understand tactics and positioning." The golden dragon looked pleased. "Minji says I have a gift for protecting others. She says that is important." "It is very important," the emperor agreed. "An empire needs strong defenders, but it also needs defenders who know when not to fight. That wisdom is even more rare." The blue dragon showed her father several inventions she had created. Each one was more impressive than the last. She had built a water purification system, a communication device, and a tool that could repair broken machinery. Her mind was constantly creating and improving. "Where did you learn to build these things?" the Emperor asked with genuine curiosity. "I take things apart to see how they work," the blue dragon explained. "Then I put them back together in better ways. Minji brings me broken equipment to practice on. She says every problem is just a puzzle waiting to be solved." The Emperor picked up the water purifier and examined it closely. "This design is more efficient than what our engineers use. You should patent this." "What is patent?" the blue dragon asked. "It means you get credit for inventing it," the Emperor explained. "It means everyone knows this brilliant idea came from you." The blue dragon's scales shimmered with pride. She had created something valuable, something that would help people. That made her feel good inside. The black dragon was more reserved with his father. He did not rush forward like his siblings. He observed and thought carefully before speaking. When he finally did speak, his words were measured and precise. "Father, why did you wait so long to visit us?" he asked. The question hung in the air. It was direct and honest, the kind of question that made adults uncomfortable. But the black dragon needed to understand. The Emperor did not make excuses. "Because I was afraid," he admitted. "I knew I had created something powerful, something beyond my understanding. I thought if I left you to the experts, they would know better than I would how to raise you." "I was wrong. What changed your mind?" the black dragon asked. "The reports about Minji," the Emperor said. "She succeeded where everyone else failed. I needed to understand how. When I saw her with you today, I realized the answer was simple. She was not afraid to love you. Everyone else saw weapons or problems. She saw children." Minji had been standing quietly in the corner, giving the family space. But now the Emperor turned to her. "You have given me back my children," he said. "I do not know how to repay that debt. I do not want payment," Minji said. "But I do want something." "Name it," the Emperor said. "I want them to have everything they need to continue growing. Better facilities, more learning materials, and eventually other teachers who understand them. I am just one person. They are going to outlive me by centuries. They need a foundation that will last beyond my lifetime." The Emperor nodded slowly. "You will have unlimited resources. Design whatever program you think they need. Hire whoever you want. Money is no object, and one more thing," Minji added. "They need time with you, not just today. Regular visits. They need their father, not just their emperor." The Emperor looked at his 3 children. They were watching him with hope in their eyes. They wanted him to say yes. They wanted him to be part of their lives. "Every week," the Emperor promised. "I will come every week, no matter what crisis or emergency arises. My children come first." The 3 dragons made happy sounds. The golden one stood up and walked to his father. He pressed his head against the Emperor's chest in a gesture of affection. The Emperor wrapped his arms around his son and held him. It was the first time he had ever hugged any of his children. The blue dragon joined them next. Then the black dragon. All 4 of them stood together in an embrace. Minji felt tears in her eyes watching them. This was what the dragons had needed all along. Not control or discipline, just love and acceptance. Over the following weeks, true to his word, the Emperor came every week. Sometimes he brought gifts. Books from distant worlds, rare materials for the blue dragon to experiment with, star maps for the black dragon to study. But the best gift was his presence. He spent hours with them, learning about their days and sharing stories about the Empire. The dragons flourished under this attention. They grew more confident and secure. The golden dragon started training with the palace guards, learning proper combat techniques. But he learned them with control and discipline. He understood that fighting was a last resort, not a first response. The blue dragon was given her own workshop. It was filled with tools and materials. She spent hours there creating amazing devices. Engineers from across the empire started consulting with her on difficult problems. She was only 5 cycles old, but she was already respected as a master inventor. The black dragon became an advisor to the Imperial Council. His insights into history and politics were valuable. He could see patterns that others missed. He helped prevent conflicts before they started. His quiet wisdom saved lives, but they were still children. They still played games with Minji. They still made mistakes and needed guidance. They still got into silly arguments about who was better at various skills. They were powerful and brilliant, but they were also young and learning. One afternoon, the golden dragon accidentally melted a training dummy because he got too excited during practice. He immediately looked worried. afraid he would be punished like in the old days. It is okay, Minji told him. Accidents happen. What matters is what you do next. Can you fix it? The golden dragon thought about it. Then he carefully used his abilities to reshape the melted metal. It took concentration and control. When he finished, the dummy was not exactly the same as before, but it was functional. Good problem solving, Minji praised him. You made a mistake and then you fixed it. That shows maturity. The blue dragon had her own moment of growth. She built a device that was supposed to create artificial rain for drought-stricken planets. But when she tested it, something went wrong. Instead of rain, it created a small snowstorm inside her workshop. Everything got covered in ice. She started to cry in frustration. She had worked so hard and it had failed. Minji came to comfort her. Every inventor fails sometimes, Minji said gently. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. You learn what does not work so you can figure out what does work. But I wanted it to be perfect, the blue dragon said through her tears. Nothing is perfect the first time, Minji told her. Even the greatest inventions in history took many attempts. What makes an inventor great is not avoiding failure. It is learning from failure and trying again. The blue dragon wiped her eyes. She looked at her frozen workshop. Then she started taking notes about what had gone wrong. She was already planning her next attempt. The black dragon struggled with social interactions. His mind was so fast and so full of information that he sometimes forgot other people could not keep up. He would reference obscure historical events without explaining them. He would jump between topics without transitions. It confused people. Minji worked with him on communication skills. Remember that not everyone has access to the same information you do, she explained. When you talk to others, you need to provide context, help them follow your thoughts, but that takes so much time, the black dragon complained. My mind moves faster than my mouth can speak. I know, Minji said, but communication is not about speed. It is about connection. It is about making sure the other person understands. That requires patience. The black dragon practiced slowing down. He practiced explaining his thoughts in simpler terms. It was hard for him, but he got better with time. 6 months after the emperor's first visit, Commander Byung called a meeting with all the senior staff. He stood before a room full of military leaders and scientists. His expression was serious but satisfied. The Imperial Nursery project has exceeded all expectations, he announced. The 3 offspring have demonstrated complete control over their abilities. They have integrated successfully into palace life. They pose no danger to themselves or others. He paused and looked directly at the camera that Minji was watching from. This success is due entirely to one person, a human nurse who saw what we could not see, who had the courage to try what we were too afraid to attempt. The Empire owes her a great debt. Everyone in the room applauded. Minji watched from her quarters and felt embarrassed by the attention. She had not done it for recognition. She had done it because it was the right thing to do. That evening, she received a message from the Emperor himself. It was a formal commendation for exceptional service to the Empire. But at the bottom, written in his own hand, was a personal note. You gave me back my family. That is worth more than all the worlds I rule. Thank you. Minji folded the letter carefully and put it away. She did not need awards or recognition. The real reward was watching 3 lost children grow into confident young people. The real reward was seeing a father reconnect with his sons and daughter. The real reward was knowing she had made a difference. The next morning, a year passed. The 3 dragons had grown tremendously. The golden one was now the size of a large transport vehicle. His scales gleamed with power that he kept perfectly controlled. The blue dragon had become famous throughout the scientific community for her inventions. The black dragon's wisdom was sought by diplomats and leaders from across the galaxy. But with growth came new challenges. The dragons were becoming too advanced for simple lessons. They needed more than what the nursery could provide. They needed to interact with the wider world. They needed to learn their place in the Empire and what their future roles would be. Minji knew this day would come. She had always known she was preparing them for something bigger than herself. Still, the thought of them leaving the safety of the nursery made her anxious. The world outside could be cruel. People would fear them because of their power. Others would try to use them for personal gain. One morning, Emperor Taiyang came to the nursery with Deho and several other advisors. His expression was thoughtful. He had been planning something important. My children, the Emperor said. You have learned well. You have grown strong and wise. But you cannot stay in this nursery forever. It is time for you to take your place in the Empire. The three dragons exchanged glances. They had known this moment would come, but that did not make it less frightening. The golden dragon stepped forward as the natural leader. "What do you want us to do, Father?" he asked. "I want you to meet my people, not as weapons or threats, but as princes and princess of the Empire. I want them to see what you have become. I want them to understand that power guided by wisdom can create great good." The blue dragon looked worried. "What if they are afraid of us? What if they run away like the handlers used to? Then you show them there is nothing to fear." The emperor said gently, "You have learned control and compassion. Let those qualities speak for themselves." The black dragon had been quiet, thinking deeply. "When will this happen?" he asked. "In 3 months," the emperor replied. "We will hold a formal ceremony. Representatives from hundreds of worlds will attend. It will be your introduction to galactic society." 3 months. That was not much time. The dragons had to learn so many things. How to behave in formal situations. How to speak to diplomats and leaders. How to present themselves with confidence but not arrogance. It was overwhelming. Minji saw their anxiety and spoke up. "You are ready for this. You have been ready for a long time. I will help you prepare, and when the day comes you will show everyone what I already know, that you are remarkable beings who will make the Empire better." Over the next 3 months, the nursery became a training ground. The dragons learned proper etiquette for formal events. They practiced speeches and presentations. They studied the different cultures and customs of the major civilizations in the Empire. They needed to show respect for diversity while maintaining their own dignity. The golden dragon worked on his public speaking. He had a tendency to be too casual, using the relaxed language he used with Minji. But formal occasions required more careful word choices. He practiced for hours, learning to sound confident and respectful at the same time. The blue dragon prepared a demonstration of her inventions. She would show the gathered leaders what she had created and explain how her devices could benefit their worlds. But she had to explain things simply. Most people did not have her level of technical knowledge. She learned to break down complex ideas into terms anyone could understand. The black dragon prepared a speech about the future of the Empire. He had spent months analyzing historical patterns and current trends. He could see challenges coming that others could not see, but he had to present his insights without sounding arrogant or superior. Wisdom meant nothing if people could not accept it. Minji coached them through everything. She role-played difficult scenarios. She asked tough questions so they could practice answering under pressure. She taught them how to stay calm when people said mean things or asked insulting questions, because some people would definitely be hostile. Not everyone will be happy about this, Minji warned them honestly. Some people believe that beings with your level of power should not exist. Others will be jealous of your abilities. You need to be prepared for criticism and even hatred. How do we respond to hatred? The golden dragon asked. With patience and grace, Minji said. You cannot control what others think or feel. You can only control your own actions. If someone hates you, that is their problem to work through. Your job is to be the best version of yourself regardless of their opinion. The blue dragon found this concept difficult. But what if they try to hurt us or stop us from doing good work? Then you defend yourselves and your work. But you do not seek revenge. You rise above it. That is what separates a leader from a bully. A bully uses power to dominate. A leader uses power to protect and serve. The black dragon understood this concept well. He had read enough history to know that the greatest leaders were those who remained dignified in the face of opposition. But understanding it intellectually and practicing it emotionally were two different things. As the ceremony date approached, the entire palace buzzed with activity. Workers prepared the grand hall. Chefs planned menus that would satisfy hundreds of different species with different dietary needs. Security teams coordinated protection for all the visiting dignitaries. Everyone was nervous. This event would either prove that the emperor's children were ready for public life, or it would be a disaster. The night before the ceremony, Minji could not sleep. She kept thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if the dragons got nervous and lost control? What if someone provoked them and they reacted badly? What if all their progress was undone in one moment? She went to the nursery even though it was late. When she entered, she found all three dragons awake. They could not sleep either. They were huddled together, talking in low voices. Cannot sleep? Minji asked gently. The golden dragon shook his head. We are scared. What if we fail? What if we embarrass Father? What if we prove that everyone who feared us was right? Minji sat down with them. She looked at each dragon in turn. Listen to me carefully. Tomorrow you are going to walk into that hall and some people will be afraid. Some will be skeptical. Some will be hoping you fail. That is reality and we cannot change it. The dragons listened intently. But here is what else is reality. You are kind. You are intelligent. You are controlled. You have spent a year learning and growing and becoming the best versions of yourselves. That is who you are, not what people fear you might be. Who you actually are, and that is what you will show them. What if we make mistakes? The blue dragon asked. Then you will handle those mistakes with grace and maturity, just like you have learned to do. Perfection is not the goal. Growth is the goal, and you have grown so much. The black dragon moved closer to Minji. Will you be there? In the hall? I will be right there in the front row, Minji promised. If you get nervous, just look at me. I will be your anchor, your reminder that you are not alone. The three dragons pressed close to Minji. This human woman had changed their lives completely. She had taken three violent, uncontrollable creatures and helped them become civilized beings. More than that, she had given them something they had never had before. A sense of belonging, a sense of worth beyond their power. Get some sleep, Minji said softly. Tomorrow you are going to change the galaxy. The ceremony day arrived with perfect weather. The sky was clear and bright. The grand hall had been transformed into a magnificent space worthy of the occasion. Banners from hundreds of worlds hung from the ceiling. Dignitaries arrived in ships of every shape and size. The hall filled with beings from across the known universe. Minji stood in the designated area for special guests. She wore her best formal attire, though it was still simple compared to the elaborate outfits around her. She did not care about appearances. She was here for the dragons. Nothing else mattered. Commander Byung approached her. You look nervous, he observed. I am terrified, Minji admitted. This is the biggest test they have ever faced. They will do well, Byung said. You have prepared them perfectly. I was wrong about you in the beginning. I thought kindness was weakness. You proved that kindness is the ultimate strength. Emperor Taiyang entered the hall and the crowd fell silent. He moved to the center platform and addressed the gathered assembly. His voice carried to every corner of the massive space. Today you will meet my children. You have heard stories about them. Some stories are true, some are exaggerated, some are complete fiction. I ask that you set aside everything you have heard and judge them only by what you see today. Give them the chance they have earned. The hall doors opened. The three dragons entered together. They moved with synchronized grace, their heads held high. The golden one led the way, confident and strong. The blue one followed, her scales catching the light beautifully. The black one brought up the rear, his dark coloring creating a striking contrast. The crowd reacted immediately. Some gasped in awe at their size and beauty. Others drew back in fear. A few hands moved toward weapons before security teams gave warning looks. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. But the dragons did not react to the fear or hostility. They walked calmly to the platform where their father waited. They took their positions and faced the crowd with dignity. The golden dragon stepped forward to speak first. His voice was clear and strong, carrying across the vast hall without any amplification devices. He had practiced this speech 100 times, but now that the moment had arrived, he spoke from his heart. My name is Garam. My siblings and I know that many of you are afraid of us. We understand why. We were once uncontrolled and dangerous. We destroyed property and hurt people without meaning to. We were powerful, but we had no wisdom to guide that power. He paused and looked at Minji in the crowd. She smiled encouragingly. Then someone showed us a different path. A human nurse named Minji taught us that power without purpose is destruction. She taught us that true strength comes from control, not chaos. She taught us that the greatest warriors are those who know when not to fight. The crowd murmured. Many were surprised that these dragons spoke so eloquently. They had expected monsters, not philosophers. We stand before you today not as threats, but as servants. We pledge to use our abilities to protect the empire and all who live within it. We pledge to build rather than destroy, to create rather than conquer. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves through our actions. Garam stepped back and his sister moved forward. The blue dragon whom Minji had named Hana in private moments carried a small device in her claws. My name is Hana. I love to create things, to understand how the universe works and to make it work better. I have spent the past year building devices that can help people. She held up the power generator she had shown her father months ago. This device generates clean energy from the air itself. It requires no fuel. It produces no waste. It could bring power to worlds that currently have none, and I am giving the design to the Empire freely. It belongs to everyone. A ripple of shock went through the crowd. Inventions like this were usually patented and sold for enormous profits. The fact that she was giving it away showed her true intentions. Hana continued, speaking about several other inventions. A water purification system, a medical scanner that could detect diseases early, a communication device that worked across vast distances without delay. Each one was a gift to the Empire. Each one proved that her brilliance was focused on helping others. When she finished, the black dragon came forward. He had been the most nervous about this moment, but his voice was steady when he spoke. My name is Jinwoo. I study history and politics. I analyze patterns and predict outcomes. I have seen how empires rise and fall. I have studied what makes civilizations succeed or fail. He looked around at the gathered leaders. Many of them were old and experienced. They did not like being lectured by someone so young. But Jinwoo had learned how to present his insights without arrogance. I have no desire to rule or command. My gift is understanding. I offer this understanding to the Empire freely. If you will listen, I can help you avoid the mistakes that destroyed past civilizations. I can help you build a future where different species cooperate instead of compete, where conflicts are resolved through wisdom instead of warfare. The crowd was silent now. The three dragons had presented themselves not as conquerors or threats, but as contributors, as beings who wanted to make the Empire better. It was not what anyone had expected. Emperor Taeyang stood and addressed the assembly. My children have shown you who they are. They have offered their gifts to the Empire without asking for anything in return. I ask you now to accept them not just as my offspring, but as citizens of the Empire with the same rights and responsibilities as anyone else. A delegate from the Outer Rim colonies stood up. His species was known for being direct and sometimes rude. He looked at the three dragons with skepticism. Pretty words are easy to say. How do we know these creatures can be trusted? How do we know they will not revert to their destructive nature when things get difficult? Before anyone else could respond, Garam answered calmly. You do not know. Trust must be earned through consistent action over time. We cannot prove ourselves with one speech or one ceremony. We can only show you through years of service that we mean what we say. We ask for nothing except the opportunity to try. The delegate seemed surprised by the mature response. He sat down without further comment. Another delegate stood. This one was from a science-focused world. She looked at Hana with professional interest. Your inventions are impressive. But surely you did not develop them alone. Who helped you? Hana shook her head. I built them myself. I studied existing technology and found ways to improve it. My mind works quickly with mechanical problems. Minji provided materials and encouragement, but the designs are my own work. The scientific delegate nodded slowly. Then I would very much like to collaborate with you. My world has an energy crisis. Your generator could save millions of lives. I would be honored to help, Hana said with genuine warmth. More delegates began standing with questions. But the tone had shifted. They were no longer asking hostile questions. They were asking practical ones. How could Jinwoo's analytical skills help with a border dispute? Could Garam's protective abilities be used to guard trade routes from pirates? Could Hana design solutions for specific technological problems? The three dragons answered every question with patience and intelligence. They showed respect for every delegate regardless of how small or insignificant their world might be. They treated everyone as equals. This humility impressed many who had come expecting arrogance. After 2 hours of questions and discussions, the ceremony concluded. The Emperor declared it a success. But the real test came afterward during the informal reception. This was when people would approach the dragons personally. This was when the true opinions would emerge without formal protocols to guide behavior. Minji stayed close, but not too close. She wanted to be available if the dragons needed her, but they needed to navigate these social situations themselves. She watched with pride as they handled each interaction with grace. Some delegates were genuinely friendly and curious. They asked about the dragons' interests and hobbies. They wanted to know what they enjoyed doing for fun. These were the people who saw the dragons as individuals, not just as powerful beings. Other delegates were more cautious. They kept their distance and observed from afar. They were not hostile, just uncertain. They needed more time to adjust to the idea of befriending such powerful creatures. And a few delegates were openly hostile. They made rude comments just loud enough for the dragons to hear. They questioned whether beings with that much power should be allowed to exist. They suggested the dragons should be controlled or monitored. Constantly, Minji watched tensely as a particularly nasty delegate approached Garam. The man was from a military world that believed in strength through domination. He looked at Garam with contempt. You talk about peace and service. But what happens when your instincts take over? What happens when you get angry and lose control? You could kill hundreds before anyone could stop you. Garam looked at the man calmly. You are right that I could cause great harm if I lost control. That is why I practice control every single day. That is why I meditate and train and constantly work to improve myself. Being powerful means being responsible. I take that responsibility seriously. The delegate sneered. We shall see how long your control lasts. Power always corrupts eventually. Perhaps, Garam said, but I have something that guards against corruption. I have people who love me and whom I love in return. Love creates accountability. It gives you reasons to be your best self. That is my protection against corruption. The delegate had no response to that. He walked away looking frustrated. Minji felt relief wash over her. Garam had handled the confrontation perfectly. No anger, no violence, just calm truth. As the reception continued, more and more delegates warmed up to the dragons. Hana was surrounded by scientists eager to discuss her inventions. Jinwoo was engaged in deep conversation with political philosophers. Garam was being consulted by security chiefs about defense strategies. The dragons were not just being tolerated, they were being valued. Later that evening, after all the guests had left, Minji found the three dragons back in their nursery. They were exhausted but happy. The day had been a success beyond anyone's expectations. You were amazing, Minji told them. All of you. I have never been more proud. We were so scared, Hana admitted. There were so many people judging us. But you did not let fear control you, Minji said. You let your training and your values guide you. That is what made the difference. Jinwoo looked at Minji thoughtfully. What happens now? Do we leave the nursery? Do we go out into the empire? Minji had been thinking about this question for weeks. Eventually, yes. But not yet. You need more preparation. You need to learn about specific worlds and their unique challenges. You need to build relationships with key leaders. This was just the beginning. How much longer? Garam asked. As long as it takes, Minji said. There is no rush. You have centuries ahead of you. A few more years of learning will not hurt. The dragons accepted this wisdom. They trusted Minji completely. If she said they needed more time, then they needed more time. Over the following months, the dragons began taking trips outside the palace. They visited different worlds under careful supervision. They met regular citizens, not just leaders and diplomats. They learned about the real problems that everyday people faced. Garam visited a farming colony that was being terrorized by space pirates. He did not rush in and destroy the pirates. Instead,